let's begin. Today we're going to review the five-finger position in major keys and talk about the major scale and chord formation, and then we will explore a couple new compositions. So first of all, to begin, I'd like to take a look at the major scale, and you all remember the intervallic relationships for the notes in the major scale. Now when we're discussing the major five-finger position, we're only taking the first 5 notes of the major scale. So up on the board I have our old friend C major, and we're going to just take notes C up through G. So we're thinking just about this much of the scale. So Claire, can you tell us the intervallic relationships between the notes in the C position?
C to D is a whole step.
Okay.
D to E is a whole step.
Okay.
E to F is a half step.
Okay.
F to G is a whole step.
Okay, and just for reference, I'll circle the half step in red, so we're aware of that. So let's play the C five-finger position, starting with your thumb on middle C of your right hand and your little finger on tenor C of the left hand. Let's try both hands together. It's going to sound like this, and if you need to, you can look at the visualizer. Just listen to it once. So one beat each until you get to the final note. Okay, let's try it together. Here you go. 2, ready, play. Okay, and one more time. And I think it's good that we're doing this now live instead of with the headsets, because we can hear each other better, and I can hear you a little bit better. It's more personal. Later on, we'll have a chance to use the headsets. Okay, let me hear you try it on your own now. Let me count it off for you. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, good. And it looks as though all of your hand positions are fine too. Your fingers are nice and curved, so that looks great. Now, let's try forming a major chord from that. And how do we form a major chord out of the hand position, out of the major hand position? Maureen?
First, third, and fifth notes.
Okay, so we'll take the first, third, and the fifth note of the C major scale, and if we write them together as harmonic intervals, we'll have a C chord, a C major chord. And remember, whatever I discuss in terms of C major and the C major hand position will hold true of any key that you want to play in. So we're doing it in C right now, and in a moment we'll practice it in several other keys. So let's try the C major hand position ending with the chord. It's going to sound like this. And when you play the chord, you'll be using fingers 1, 3, and 5, the same ones that you have used in the five-finger position. So it's going to look on the visualizer and sound like this. So two beats each on the last 2. 1, 2, ready, play. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, make sure you do it with both hands now. Let's take it a little bit slower. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, good. Now, do you recall what this device is on the board to the right? Do you recall what that is?
It's
Maureen?
a circle of fifths.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Good. Circle of fifths, fine. And what does the circle of fifths indicate? What do we see? What do we learn from the circle of fifths? Maureen?
The number of flats and sharps in a given scale.
Okay, so it contains the sharps and flats, and it also is an indicator of the various keys and relationships. Remember, our tonal system of Western music is built on the interval of a fifth, and this shows that relationship. And as I mentioned, that whatever I said about the C major hand position and chords would hold true in any key. So we can start on any key around the circle of fifths, and within that key, play the first, third, and fifth to make the chord, or the intervallic relationship that Claire had mentioned, and form a five-finger position out of that. So let's go on to the scale of G now, the second one of the circle of fifths, and start on G just with your right hand and play through the five-finger position. So I'll give you a few seconds to find it. And remember, if you're not sure, count up your whole steps and half steps. And let's try it together now. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, good. Try both hands together now. And remember, you can look at the visualizer if you need to. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, good. Now do the same thing and end with the major chord. So now you'll be ending, because you're in the key of G, you'll be ending with a G major chord. So the same process we used on the C major. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, and once more, just a little bit slower. 1, 2, ready, play. Okay, very good. Okay, I'd like someone to try for me the key of A major now. Give you a few seconds to think about it. Think of A major, think about your intervallic relationships. If you needed to play through it quietly, remember you can do it by ear too, you can do it by sound. So if you were just experimenting on your own in your practice session, you could start on A and do it by sound. And remember, all the hand positions are going to sound like do, re, mi, fa, sol. So you'll know if you're getting it correctly. Okay, any takers for A? Who can do the key of A for us?
The same as before.
If you want, Pat, you could just play the position and back down. You don't need to end with the chord yet. If you want to, you can end with the chord. Pat, can you do the key of A? Okay, go ahead. Very good. How about both hands now? Okay, how about someone to take the key of B flat? B flat. Think about it a little bit again, and if you need to experiment a little bit on your own, otherwise count up whole steps and half steps. So B flat. Any takers? Claire, you look like you're ready. Go ahead. And end with the chord this time. Okay, very good. So for your assignment, as far as the 5-finger positions are concerned, I'd like you to be able to play through the entire circle of fifths and end with the major chord. So that will be your homework assignment, so be able to do all of those. I'd like to take a look at one of the compositions. First of all, let's take a look at the old German dance. Now remember that the key to good performing and understanding music is analysis always. So let's talk about the composition and say and notice as much as we can about it, and then we'll try playing it. So first of all, just looking at the score, who can tell me some features about the old German dance? Any features that you want? Anything you notice?
C major.
Okay, it's in C major. How do you know that it's in C major?
The first measure, the first note is C and indicates finger 1.
Okay, what else?
The left hand is C and G, so part of the C chord.
Good. Claire, how else could you tell?
Well, I look at it and I see that there are phrases that go for
Right.
2 measures.
Mm-hmm.
And the end of the second measure ends in a C in the left hand and an E in the right hand.
Okay. And you'll notice in the composition too that C is always a very prominent pitch in the piece, and a lot of the melodic movement moves from C up to G. It sort of wanders around a little bit, it comes back down to C. The final note of the piece is a C in both the right hand and the left hand, and there aren't any sharps and flats. So those are just a few of the things you could look at to indicate C. But even if you're not looking at the no sharps or flats, you could think of the melodic movement and where the melody and left hand land. Okay, anything else about the composition? If you had to look for a unifying feature of the piece, what would you think? Okay, repeating phrases.
And you have repeating themes. The first two lines, or the first line repeats in the second line, the third line repeats in the fourth line.
Okay. Just for fun, can you play that first line, that first system for us? Okay, very good. So you notice even in that first line, you have that ascending pattern. Then the next phrase still starts the same way. The second system is an exact repeat of the first one. So in a way, you have less to learn in the composition. As soon as you learn the first system, you already have the second one learned. Go on to the third system now. So any unifying features there, or anything different that you notice? Maureen?
Again, there's repeating phrases.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little dialogue back between the left hand and the right
Yeah.
hand.
Okay, good.
The left hand.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's that, up and down, the right hand. The
Yeah,
right
so-
hand goes up, the left hand goes up.
Right, Pat. So you have that little motive that occurs throughout that section. In the left hand, then in the right hand. So echoing back and forth. So that happens throughout the piece. So if on your playing test and your written test, if I ask you about 10 salient features of the composition, you could easily, I would imagine, find 10 major points that you could talk about. You could talk about what key the piece is in, you could talk about melodic movement, and one of the main things to look for are the repeated themes and repeated motives that help tie the piece in together. So when I have you practice with your headsets on in a few minutes, I'd like you to work on the Old German Dance and write in the fingering for the entire piece. But for now, let's go on to the duet and take a few moments to look at that. Okay, in the duet, what key do we start on?
Let's see.
Okay, you start on C with the right hand, so you're in the key of C. Does it stay in the key of C?
No, in
No.
measure, four in, after
Right.
pickup note, it goes to the key of G.
Right, goes to into the key of G. And today, of course, you will have a chance to work on the compositions, but one of the things I would like to do next time is to put both of the pieces up on the document camera and show your examples of fingering, and we could circle important features in the compositions then. So for today, I would like you to practice the pieces right in your fingering, make special note of repeated motives and marking your phrasing, anything important about the composition. So now I'd like you to put your headsets on and begin work. So start writing in your fingering, practice parts separately if you need to, and I will come around and see if you need